how does Chinese medicine understand the concept of anxiety?
Anxiety is what we think of as anxiety in Western mental health, Western medicine, really encompasses several different descriptors in East Asian medical psychology, psychiatry, mental health work, whatever you want to call it. So there is, in order to explain this, we have to look at Chinese emotion concepts, meaning because emotions and our experience of emotions are filtered through social and cultural norms, ways of thinking about and linguistic ways of even talking about these things.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so Chinese emotion concepts culturally tend to be a lot more somatized. So somatized meaning they're much more focused on the experience of the body. All right, which is and it's hard to even talk about this in a Western language because we are so steeped in what's called Cartesian dualism, right?
Although I think even Western medicine now is saying like,
Oh, yeah.
anxiety shows up in the body.
Yeah. And this is why this is such an exciting time to be working as an acupuncturist, because the two medicines are really starting to reach out and touch one another in a way that they never have before. So this breaks down into 2 or 3 different Chinese emotion concepts. One of them is called Kong, which is fear, and that is associated with the kidneys, in air quotes. Understanding that that kidney in Chinese medicine encompasses both the actual kidneys. In this context, we're really referring to adrenal and cortisol kind of functions, plus the muscles of the pelvic floor and particularly those of elimination. This is because Chinese medicine is essentially an empirical medicine. We're looking at, okay, what happens when the patient is, as we would say, anxious, or when they're experiencing, in a Chinese context, this Kong that we're talking about. Kong is fear, like in your day-to-day, like you would experience. So we see very often people have urinary and bowel irregularities when they're afraid. You know, we've all heard the expression, you know, peeing one's pants in fear, things like that. So that's Kong. Then you've got what's called Jing, and forgive me, my Mandarin pronunciations suck, but Jing is like fright or shock. So the way this was explained to me is that it's kind of a temporal distinction. Okay. So you can have Kong like what would be like if you were in a stick up, for example. And, you know, you've got somebody, you know, there's a looming threat, but it's not immediate, okay? That's Kong, all right? Or if you're very, very anxious about something for a long period of time, you know, the results of a medical test, all the things that make a person anxious, that would be considered Kong, okay? But Jing is, you know, you look the wrong way crossing the street and then you turn around and suddenly there's a car nearly on you. Mm-hmm. That's Jing, okay? So both of those are shades of what we would consider anxiety in Western medicine. Then you've got Si. Si is associated with, both of those, by the way, Kong and Jing, are both associated with the kidney, and with all the caveats that we gave. Then you've got what's called Si. Si is associated with, this gets complicated. It gets associated with the spleen, quote unquote, but that's one of the worst translations that we have, because really we're referring to something that shares a lot more functions with the pancreas in Western medicine. But there's a whole running debate. I end up just calling it the splancreas because it's like, in any case, it's associated with digestive function. All right. So this 思 often gets translated as rumination, all right? Which the root of the word rumination translates quite nicely because it means to chew and turn over and chew and chew. It's this over-analyzing, overthinking, spinning about a prospective future that is negative.
I can relate to all of those things.
Yes.
My next question would be, do you treat each one of those differently, or do you treat them all the same?
We treat the relationships among those, all right? So in the best simplified sort of analogy that I've found to explain our model of the psyche and consciousness to Westerners and to myself as a Westerner is to use the metaphor of like a stereo system. So there are 5 of these core emotion concepts in our model. So 思 and 空 are 2 examples of that. Jing kind of lives outside that model because it's only found in pathology. So as far as the basic 5, you have 空 and 思, and then you have 怒 and you have 北, and also what would be the 喜, or no, I'm sorry, 喜. So these are, you can think of these as like a stereo system because the idea is that you want a balance among these 5 basic functions, all right? You don't want any one to overwhelm the others. You don't want your bass to overwhelm your treble, to overwhelm your mid ranges, and you also want to be able to switch between those functions or blend those functions as necessary according to the situation and the environmental stimulus. You want to be able to stub your toe and go, and then go on about your day. When things are not functioning properly, you stub your toe and you have a nervous breakdown and you're on your psychiatrist's couch in 10 years talking about how you stubbed your toe that time and you've never been the same ever since. So that's when we treat these issues, and when we treat mental health in general in East Asian medicine, we're really trying to administer stimuli to modulate that balance.